Good afternoon. Does Han von Mergen live here?
Yes. Yes, I'm Van Mergen.
I'm Inspector Loster. May I come in? No, but feel free. Still celebrating?
Of course. And may I add, this is the first time in 5 years that I haven't been terrified by the sight of a policeman.
You may want to pace yourself, sir. It's been almost a month since the war ended.
You're young. What do you know of privation?
It doesn't look like too much suffering went on here. Aren't you the same Von Mergen who did that famous sketch of Queen Juliana's pet deer? The one on all the calendars and travel posters and everything.
Yes, well, I'm afraid that's mine. And I made that little dose of celebrity and she never called me again.
I always see it around a lot at Christmas time on cars. That's yours.
Yes, yes, but that was back when I was just an artist.
Looks as though you've done all right as an artist.
Just all right. I won a gold medal in art school. A book of my sketches was published, which led to some society portraits, but I could never afford a place like this, doing portraits. I became an art dealer. That's where the real money is, and a lot less work. Why are you here?
Well, I'm sure you've heard about all the confiscated art hidden away by the Nazis.
Everyone has. Please, sit, please.
The American Army found a salt mine filled with sculptures and paintings and tapestry. Have you heard anything about this?
No.
Well, you'll see it in the papers soon. One mine shaft was filled with the personal collection of Hermann Goering. They found a big Vermeer.
That's wonderful. To get it back. It's a national treasure. It belongs to the Dutch people.
Definitely. Is it true there are more than 40 Vermeers in existence?
Yes, it's quite true. About 40.
Well, Goering's Vermeer doesn't appear in any catalog or listing of his work. It's totally unknown.
Well, that happens in the art trade. A family heirloom is kept in an attic. Turns out to be a Rembrandt or something. Not often, but it does happen.
Well, luckily, this particular painting was found with documents. You know the Germans and their paperwork.
Oh, yes. I certainly do.
It's quite striking. And the first owner of record would appear to be you.
Let's take a look.
Do you recognize it?
Yes. Yes, I own it. It was a lucky find, obviously, and it was a new Vermeer. Christ and the woman taken in adultery. You who are without sin and so on.
The nameplate says Christ and the adulteress. Frames worth thousands, the plate is solid gold. Goering practically slept with
Well,
it.
magnificent work by the Delft master himself.
Mr. Von Mergen, the sale of a national art treasure to the Nazis in time of war is a serious offense. A capital offense.
Inspector, when I placed Christ and the adulteress in the hands of a broker, I instructed him that it was not to be sold to any German. He told me that he sold it to a private party, took his commission, and paid me the rest. If you don't believe me, go ask the broker.
We'd love to, but it seems he's disappeared.
What do you mean?
I mean, we can't locate your broker.
Well, that's not my problem. I give you my word that I instructed him that Christ and the adulteress were not to be sold to any Nazi. That's all I can do, I'm afraid. Now, it's very nice meeting you, Inspector, but really, I had work to do.
There's something else I need to ask you about. A copy of your book of drawings was found in Hitler's personal library.
So what? My book is in dozens of libraries. What does that prove?
Hitler's copy is signed.
I autographed hundreds of copies. Signed copies sell for more. Ask any publisher.
This one had more than just your signature. Here's a copy. It's in German. I believe it says, "To the beloved Führer, in grateful respects, Han von..."
I did not write this. I wrote the signature. I did not write anything to Hitler. Someone added that.
Well, in that case, I'll have the handwriting analyzed.
Goddamn right you will.
Let's see if we can clear some of this up. Exactly where did you buy Christ and the Adulteress?
In Italy. The bankrupt family was selling off their possessions. I thought this particular canvas might be valuable. Turned out I was right.
May I see the receipt?
I don't know where it is. It's probably behind a bookcase or something.
But you did get it.
Yes!
That's interesting. After all, Italy was under Mussolini since 1922. What was the name of the family you bought it from?
Look, I don't even know if I remember it. Even if I did, I would keep my word to them. What is it?
Mr. von Mergen, be reasonable. You obtain a priceless Vermeer in fascist Italy. During the war, it is purchased by Hermann Goering and you receive a great deal of money. Under the occupation, you live a privileged life while others starve. And we have a copy of your book inscribed to the beloved Führer. Now what am I supposed to think?
Get out! God damn you!
Get out! When did you first become involved with the Nazis?
I was never involved with them, I told you!
When were you first attracted to the Nazi
I am
idea?
not a Nazi!
You went to Italy looking for art. You found a bankrupt family selling their possessions, including an unknown Vermeer, Christ and the Adulteress.
Yes!
You bought it for a pittance. Were they Jewish?
What?
Did you threaten them or coerce them to part with this painting?
No, I don't know. I don't know if they were Jewish. I just want the goddamn painting. And
After they made you promise never to mention their name to another living soul?
Yes! 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 They were ashamed of their poverty.
Liar. You threatened them, didn't you?
For God's sake, you're so stupid.
You obtained Christ and the Adulteress in fascist Italy. During the war, it is purchased by Hermann Goering and you receive the money. Under the occupation, you live like a king. And to top it off, Hitler has a lovingly inscribed copy of your book. You sold a national art treasure to a Nazi general for personal profit. A charge of treason has been entered into.
Policeman!
I'll have
Go!
that. Go look out the window. Go look out the window. People living in wheelbarrows. And the girls? You'd be embarrassed to take one of those skeletons out in public. They all used to be so pretty. And right in the middle of it, you're buying houses, hotels, and nightclubs. For cash! I wonder what they would think about all that out there. You're eating ham, fresh eggs, Roquefort cheese, champagne, real coffee, scotch, milk. What will mothers who lost their babies think? How did you afford this on an art dealer's income?
I want a big prize.
Oh, that's right. 2 years ago, you started telling people that you won the lottery. Twice. Well, that explains everything. You really look awful.
You made me sick!
When you cooperate, you'll get your pills back. And by the way, exactly how did you afford a drug habit on an art dealer's income?
For the love of God, Inspector, please.
Right. The lottery. Twice.
You are a complete idiot.
Not idiot enough to hang. So many women seem to find you just irresistible. Maybe as they got colder and hungrier, you got bigger and sexier, huh?
You are the criminal. I am the hero.
Hero. What heroic thing have you ever done?
Being here. Taking this! Let me out!
Here's a sworn statement from a young lady. I went to several dozen of von Mergman's parties. These were attended by many important persons and officials who arrived in expensive cars. I saw a champagne fountain and 3 kinds of caviar. The marble hall had been converted into an indoor bicycle track for private betting. Chocolate cake was served. I stayed the night on more than one occasion. Von Mergman is a very nice man. He gave me a gold ankle chain and silk dressing gowns, lavender and Chinese red. End quote.
So what?
A statement from a theatrical director. An evening at Von Mergman's nightclub was more spectacular than anything I could have put on stage. I recall a 12-piece band and wonderful lighting effects. Fine cigars were provided to his friends and to some occupation officials. Smoked salmon was one of the first courses. I don't remember the rest. I was too busy working my way through cognac, French wine, whiskey, and calvados. It nearly killed me. End quote.
I confess to showing people a good time. Lock me up!
You are locked up. Here's an interesting excerpt from your police file. Following searches of Von Mergman's properties, officers have uncovered thousands in cash, in buried jars, heating ducts, hollow rafters, beneath floorboards, and in hidden cupboards. The search of these properties is continuing. End quote.
I insist that you release me immediately.
Look, I'm well aware you're no master criminal. You're a minor collaborator, an accomplice. Point me toward the real Nazis.
I don't know any Nazis.
You must know who they are. It's not too late to start being patriotic. Why should you suffer while the rest of them go free? All right. How about some extenuating circumstances? Did the Germans press you to sell the painting? They promised to supply you with pills. Did they threaten your family? Look, help me out. Maybe you're just a sick, pathetic man. The judge can always take that into consideration. Life is cheap, sir. 16,000 people died just this winter. In a civilized 20th century country, They starved. We're compiling photos of collaborators from all over Europe. That's what they look like when the citizenry catches up with them. Women, teenagers, it doesn't seem to matter. We have some color photos there too. Don't miss those. If you really want to be released, maybe that's just what we'll do. Now that you've been publicly charged. It doesn't have to happen. And you don't have to hang. Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth and I may be able to get some leniency.
You really want a confession? Sure. Be careful what you ask for, you might just get it. No, you put it down. I'm too weak to write. Exactly as I say it, word for word.
Oh, I promise.
Already? You goddamn idiots. There never was an Italian family, and I never won a lottery, and I never was a collaborator. You getting all this down, son?
Go on.
Good. You goddamn idiots. I never owned or sold a Vermeer titled Christ and the Adulteress. I did, however, own and sell a Van Meegeren titled Christ and the Adulteress. Again. And for the record, I painted it myself. In addition, I painted Vermeer's Christ and the Disciples of Emmaus, which I then sold to the Boymans Museum for 520,000 guilders, where it occupied its very own special gallery. I also painted the head of Christ, Isaac blessing Jacob, the washing of Christ's feet, woman reading music, woman playing music, and two Last Suppers, along with the other works by the experts, such as de Borg, Hals, and de Hoog. I confess to having a deep and abiding love for the experts. You're not writing. Am I going too fast? Too many big words?
I really suggest you start taking this situation seriously.
I made it a point to sell my forgeries to Dutch collectors and Dutch museums only. The broker who handled Christ and the Adulteress ignored my explicit instructions. The last thing that I ever wanted to do was to produce a fake to sell to the Nazis. So that if they ever found out that I had swindled them, the Gestapo would pick me up. And I only made up the lottery story to explain my huge illicit income. I'm guilty. Guilty, guilty, guilty of forgery. You should get a Bible.
I don't think I'm the one who'll be needing it.
Reacquaint yourself with the story of Christ and the disciples at Emmaus, where an ordinary traveler, a man of no distinction, is suddenly revealed as most remarkable after all. And I can prove it absolutely and beyond a shadow of a doubt. Put it down, exactly as I say, and you may release it to the press.
And just where did you learn how to paint like that?
I was lucky enough to have teachers who were dedicated in the old ways. My instructors were like fathers to me.
Did you lose your father when you were young?
No. Some people just don't know when they've outstayed their welcome. insisted on living to a ripe old age. But my teachers were wonderful. They made all of their pigments and brushes by scratch.
Anyone can walk into a library and look those things up. That doesn't mean you can paint like Vermeer.
Very true. But I did paint like Vermeer. And to Ball, and Halls, and to Hoop.
You're sticking with this story. You painted all of them. You're a forger, not a traitor. Sure? All right. Let's see you do it again. We'll watch and you'll paint a perfect copy of, say, Christ and the Adulteress, all right?
A copy? If you want a copy, go arrest a photographer. Wouldn't you rather see me paint a new Vermeer?
Yes. Yes, I would. A brand new Vermeer, just as good as all the others you've done. And subject to the same expert scrutiny. Is that agreeable?
I wouldn't have it any other way. First, I get to work in my own studio. I get all the materials and implements that I asked for. I get extra rations of cigarettes, and I get my pills back. Deal.
Okay.
Stands of 7 million guilders over 10 years. And Ben Vagrant says he can prove it. He will paint yet another fabulous face, this time before witnesses. The investigation continues, but police feel that an execution, or at least a long prison sentence, is likely. The method of execution would be hanging. The ultimate penalty having been imposed on a criminal in Holland for Roy Stone.
Is something wrong?
No. But this is you, isn't it? If it isn't, you must have a twin brother in the security service.
Yes, that's me. Sorry, I'm not used to publicity.
No, I understand. I'm Dr. Marcus T. Reinsler. As a man in your line of work must be trained to be rather inconspicuous, blending with the wallpapers, they say in the police novels. Actually, I was going to somewhere the station to try to see you. I hope you don't mind me bothering you on your own time.
What can I do for you, Dr. de Reinsler?
Well, I wanted to speak to the authorities about this art forger business. It's been in all the papers, on the radio, I think I even saw it in the newsreel. I just want to find out if there's anything to it. I mean, I hardly know what to think. You know, on the one hand, he's a traitor, and this story of his is just a grotesque lie to escape the consequences of his crime. But then, on the other hand, he's an old man, and maybe getting feeble-minded, maybe even believes some of it at this point. But in either case, I doubt if we'll ever know for sure, and you wouldn't want to hang a man unless you were absolutely certain, you see. So I was thinking that perhaps the best thing to do would be to send him away, to a rest home or hospital or something. And not necessarily even a prison, but some place where he could pay his debt to society and be away. Anyway, that's my thinking on the subject, and I thought I should tell someone in authority what I thought.
We still don't know exactly what it is he's guilty of. Isn't it a little premature to be weighing various forms of punishment?
Of course, it's not my place to do so. If I'm intruding into the legal arena, I apologize.
That's all right. Everyone's got an opinion. Von Mergen is a famous man.
Well, yes, at the expense of his victims.
That's why we arrested him, Doctor. At this moment, all we know is that it looks like he committed treason. That was my conclusion, and that's the charge.
Well, terrible. Selling your meal to the Nazis, it's a terrible thing, but the war is over now. People are trying to put their lives back together again. Everyone is stumbling out of the pit, and the things that went on. Just to exist, you had to to do things. And now it's over. You stand there blinking in the light, stunned. And what good does revenge do anyway? I mean, does it bring anyone back? It certainly can't change the past or delete the pain. And I understand he's not in the best of health.
He's sick.
Well, it may not be long before the Almighty can deal with him directly without any human meddling. Is he suffering from any particular disease? Well, it's been so much about him in the papers, I thought I'd read the report that he was sickly.
Well, he's no youngster, and he drinks, among other things. If you'd like to send a get well card, I'll see that he gets it.
No, I was just wondering. But like I was saying, the war is over now. The living, they just want to forget and get on with their lives. And like they were saying, he's a sick man. I mean, what is the point in dragging him through a public trial?
I admire your spirit of forgiveness. It's a shockingly rare commodity these days, given all the shortages. You wouldn't happen to be a relative of Von Neuergen's, would you?
Oh, no. No relation. I'm in the art business myself. That's why I have an interest in the case. It's an amazing story.
A vested interest? Do you own a suspect painting?
Oh, no, I couldn't possibly have afforded any of the canvases he alleged to have done.
All right, you're not a collector.
Well, not primarily, no, but I'm a art historian and a scholar. That's why I'm so fascinated. I'm here as somewhat of a spokesman for my profession.
Did you by any chance certificate any of Von Neuergen's Vermeers?
Well, I was one of several people asked to examine some of his alleged works over the years and render an opinion.
One of several expert opinions which held that Von Neuergen's alleged canvases were painted 300 years ago.
Yes, but my endorsement was somewhat more equivocal than others. I always had my doubts, and of course now I regret that.
And you didn't express them more forcefully.
Well, yes, I have no desire to become the champion of an unpopular point of view.
I hope you don't mind. The investigation is still open. Exactly why would saying that Von Neuergen's pictures were fakes be unpopular?
All right. Okay, the very first painting that he claims to have done, Christ and the Disciples at Emmaus, he always said that he happened upon it quite by chance and that he thought it was valuable.
Go on.
Well, so he sent it to the world's leading expert on Vermeer, a man named Bradius, who was most enthusiastic.
And once Bradius was in Von Neuergen's pocket, all the other experts just fell into line.
Inspector, we, all of us, must consider our careers. The world is not a perfect place. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that.
No, you don't.
One does not fly in the face of prevailing authority in my profession. It's in no one's interest.
Sounds like you and your colleagues should focus a little more on Bradius and a little less on Mr. Von Neuergen.
Unfortunately, Dr. Bradius passed away several years ago.
So much for questioning the world's leading Vermeer expert.
I wouldn't be too hard on Dr. Bradius, Inspector. He was a fine man, a massive intellect. He knew every aspect of Vermeer's life and work. I mean, he was a colossus of the art world, a true genius.
We have been looking into this matter ourselves. Here's the exact wording of Bradius' certificate. Please, read it. I can't hear you, Doctor.
Christ and the Disciples of Emmaus. This glorious work of Vermeer, the great Vermeer of death, has emerged, thank God, from the darkness where it lay for many years, just as it left the artist's studio. The depth of feeling springs from it such as is found in no other work of his. I found it hard to contain my emotions when this masterpiece was first shown to me. Many will feel the same who have the privilege of beholding it, composition, expression, color, all combined to form a unity of the highest beauty, Bradius, September 1937.
Do you believe Von Neuergen was capable of deceiving this colossus of the art world?
But I'll be honest with you, Inspector. Yes, there's a remote possibility.
Oh! So you fear for your professional reputation?
No, it's more than that. I feel for the reputation of my profession. Can you imagine the number of eminent men that would be made laughing stocks if what Van Meegeren says is true?
Yes, I can.
And there is an equally delicate matter.
I'm all ears.
Assuming Van Meegeren did those paintings, and I'm not saying that he did, but assuming that he did, can you imagine how many more he might have done?
Go on.
Well, it's entire collections would be devastated, rendered suspect, even valueless.
Monetarily, I suppose, but certainly not artistically. The paintings themselves won't change. They'll be just as praiseworthy no matter who did them or when they were done. I would think the art world would be overjoyed to have a living genius among them who's the equal of Vermeer, and Cherbourg, and Hals, and Dehoop, unless, of course, you're only in it for the money, like Van Meegeren. I'm afraid it's a little late to just have him quietly put away. We'll all have to wait and see. Unless you're expecting us to arrange some sort of accident.
What an obscene suggestion!
Hello. You must be Miss Hoogan from the newspaper.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Van Meegeren.
Ah. Nice to meet you too. May I take your coat? Please sit.
What a magnificent place you have.
Any trouble finding it?
Oh no, it's the house with the guards outside.
Yes, of course. Here. This is probably the last of the good stuff. I probably have another couple of bottles buried in the garden. To victory, peace, and beauty.
Do you always stare at a woman's chest?
Every chance I get. When a man gets to be my age, he doesn't mess around with so. Where have you been all my life?
In my case, for the first half of it, I wasn't even born. I suppose it's easier for old men to get away with that sort of thing. People just giggle. A young man does it and he gets slapped.
Very true. But when you get to be a doddering old fool, you can get away with just about anything.
Like treason.
Oh, no. You really think that I'm some kind of Nazi?
How else do you live like this during the occupation?
You paint 6 fake paintings and sell them for 7 million guilders. Sorry. Sorry. I am not a traitor, and I will prove that to everyone, you included. I did spend thousands on the black market, but let's not forget that I was practically a one-man relief operation.
Particularly for young women.
I like girls. Oh, by the way, what's public opinion like out there?
About evenly divided.
Really?
Half of the letters to the editor say you should be stood in front of a firing squad. The other half say you ought to be hanged. And a few suggested the stake. Cranks, probably.
Well, in that case, I have one final request.
When did you first become interested in art?
I guess 8. No. No, 9. 9. I started drawing. I'd wake in the morning and I would sketch my dreams. I'd be the king and all my loyal subjects would be lions. My mother, she was something of an artist herself, and she encouraged me.
Did your father like your pictures?
He tore them up whenever he found them. Right in front of me sometimes. Said I was neglecting my schoolwork, which I was. Said I should study architecture, which I did badly, but I always finished my assignments on time. But I would add little things to the blueprints, window boxes full of roses, curtains, little dogs on doorsteps. They mark you down for that.
Did you get your degree in architecture?
No, my father and I, we had a big fight. I left architectural school and I got my degree at the Hague Art Academy. Oh. They had a final there, a performance portion, where you had to do an oil painting while the instructors watched. Something like this.
I had to paint for my life. I wonder what I'd paint. What will you do?
Well, let's see. Book of Luke. Luke 2, 44 through 46. But they, supposing him to have been in the company, went a day's journey. And they sought him among their kinsfolk and acquaintance. And when they found him not, they turned back to Jerusalem seeking him. And it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. I'm going to paint Jesus among the doctors, the man of miracles who confounded his critics and converted the skeptics.
And just how Christ-like do you think you are?
Well, I didn't turn water into wine, but I did turn paint into gold, 7 million guilders worth.
How many times have you been married?
Twice, divorced both times. I find it very difficult to limit myself.
So you live in this mansion all alone?
No, actually, my second wife lives here also, but she lives in another part of the house.
That sounds very civilized.
You'd be surprised how medieval it really is.
What attracted you to Vermeer?
He was ignored for his entire lifetime, for 2 centuries after. Neither of us ever got the recognition we deserve.
You're getting it now.
I am, aren't I?
But as a forger, why Vermeer?
His works, they command huge prices. And there's very little in the way of reliable biographical information about him, but there's lots of speculation by the critics. So I decided to produce a fake to prove how brilliant their speculations were.
How did you do that?
There's only one Vermeer with a biblical theme. It was found in 1901 by Dr. Abraham Gradius. Gradius, he convinced himself that there had to be more biblical Vermeers out there just waiting to be discovered. So I decided to give him exactly what he was hoping to find. I called it Jesus among the doctors. No. Christ. No, it was Christ and the disciples of Emmaus.
And Gradius authenticated it?
More than that. I have an article over here. Let me see. This is it right here. Here we go. A new Vermeer by A. Brady's Burlington Magazine. Neither the beautiful signature nor the Pontel on the bread is needed to convince us that we have here a masterpiece. I am inclined to say the masterpiece of Johannes Vermeer of Delft. The colors are characteristic and magnificent. Christ is serene and sad as he thinks of the suffering he shall pass through. In no other picture by the master do we find such sentiment, such profound understanding of the Bible, story expressed through the highest art, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you can.
What happened next?
Well, the Borgens Museum bought it for $500,000 guilders. It was big news. You probably heard about it at the time.
I looked at the old articles. They said it was sold by a ruined French family who wanted to remain anonymous to avoid the shame.
That was pretty good, wasn't it? Made it almost impossible to establish any kind of profits.
You tried the same thing with Christ and the Adulteress, a bankrupt Italian family who wanted to remain anonymous.
Yes. Yes, but the second one got me arrested. I should have said a bankrupt Swiss family, but no one would believe that.
What did you do with your $500,000?
Oh, I never really intended on keeping it. No, really. All that I wanted to do was to produce the perfect fake to deceive the arbiters of taste, and then I wanted to make a big fuss out of refusing all the money to prove how stupid and what a bunch of morons, incompetent morons they are. That was my master plan.
But you changed your mind.
Well, could you imagine having all that money at once?
No.
Me neither. I suddenly realized that you could make one hell of a living from forgery. So I decided to go to Paris for a week of celebration. I think it was a week anyway. It's hard to recall now. But I did meet a very tall Swedish girl at a cabaret, a lead dancer. That much I do recall. Little girls at that age are so cute.
Did you ever go see Christ and the Disciples at Emmaus at the museum?
Yes. They spent weeks fixing it. They gave the job to the world's leading restoration specialist. I hate to think what it cost.
He didn't realize that it was a fake?
No. Fixed all the damage that I had done to it to make it look like that it had been bouncing around rooms for 300 years, and then he mounted it in a new frame. It was a beautiful scrollwork thing. I couldn't believe it.
When did you see the fully restored Christ and the Disciples at Emmaus?
Spring. Yes. Spring, 1938. When they put it on display, the people made a big fuss out of the wooden floor making too much noise, so they decided to put a thick carpet down so they could enjoy it in reverential silence. I decided to go and take a look at it the next day. Oh, they really did a good job cleaning it. I mean, it really looked fresh. When I moved in closer, I guess I crossed over the velvet rope because the guard put out his hand and told me to stand back. The next day, I was really obnoxious. I started criticizing it. I told all my friends that it was probably a fake. You know, the brushwork was not very good, and any moron could come up with a better composition.
How did people react?
They got angry. I almost got punched in the mouth. I mean, can you imagine a greeting card illustrator criticizing Vermeer? I mean, it's like a radio jingle writer pointing out the flaws of Beethoven's Ninth. Oh, God.
And you never did carry out your master plan.
Not until now. That day is coming. I'm going to shove this painting right down their throats! Inspector, on the table, please.
How are you?
Fine, I suppose. Is that everything?
You tell me.
It's a start. Was everything where I said it would be?
Pretty much, yes.
Don't smoke around that stuff. Thanks.
That's some property you have down there in the south of France.
Glad you like it. Which one?
We went through both of them. There aren't any others, are there?
No, 2 houses is all in France.
Some of the stuff we found in your house is here in Amsterdam. For my money, your place in the Nice foothills has got to be the most impressive villa in the entire region.
Thanks.
I could look down and see the lights of the city twinkling as soon as it got dark. And small boats way out to sea. Is it all marble?
Right. Pure marble, kind of pearlescent. Did you get a chance to look at the rock pool?
And the olive grove, and the rose garden, and the vineyard, and the dozen bedrooms, and the 5 reception rooms. Your neighbors missed the parties.
I miss them a lot more, believe me.
What did you like most about France?
It wasn't Holland, okay?
Okay.
Do you mind? If you're curious, just ask. This is Lapis Lazuli, we ground by hand. From Windsor and Newton, in London, Unlimited. It was all in my state.
I remember. We checked it out, of course.
Of course.
Apparently you put in 4 separate orders, totaling 12.5 ounces. Probably the largest quantity they ever sold.
Wouldn't be surprised.
They said it's an extremely rare demand. At a cost of 4 English guineas an ounce, that would be about...
More than most policemen make in a month.
Right.
Just trying to be helpful.
You say you moved to France to get away from Holland?
Yes, yes, that's exactly what I said.
Why? Why is that? Because you weren't properly appreciated as an artist, huh? Even though you could make a good living for commercial work and portraits?
Goddamn right, Inspector. If you paint anything remotely recognizable, the critics start throwing curses. Living camera, commercial, photographic representationalist. How idiots like that can come up with an 11-syllable insult is beyond me. Photographic representationalist. Do you know why they like the kind of crap a 3-year-old can do? Why? It gives them power. If the normal average person doesn't understand what they're looking at, the critics and the college professors decide if it has value. Believe me, you can never understand the criminal mind unless you've dealt with the art world.
Oh, it's been enlightening.
This is the best part. When you turn art into pure drivel, you make it safe for the untalented. If your only objective is to outrage the public, you don't need training, you don't need talent, and you sure don't need inspiration. Just back a cow up to a canvas and give her an enema. It'll be an investment.
I don't think that's very likely to happen.
When I was young, a critic came up to me and demanded to be paid for review. It was common practice. Probably still is. I don't know. I turned him down, and he told me that I would never get mentioned in his magazine. He was as good as his word.
Why? Why? Why didn't you just pay the bribe?
Well, I know this might be difficult for you to understand, but I'm above that sort of thing.
But not above forgery.
Forgery demands a certain measure of genius, and any baboon can pay a bribe. I happen to believe that people should understand what they're looking at. That may be some kind of reactionary, and I guess being a reactionary is not a big step to being a Nazi.
I guess not. Time magazine says you worship Adolf Hitler.
Nice to know the journalists are as professional as the critics. By the way, what is the word on the handwriting analysis?
It shouldn't be long now.
Good. I certainly can't wait until you get the results on that.
About your trial, I'm afraid there have been some scheduling problems.
Is that so? What kind?
Delays. The date keeps getting moved back. I don't know why.
I believe I do. It's going to be a massive worldwide public embarrassment of the entire cultural snotty elite. Not to mention the government.
The government.
Yes, reread my confession. In 1943, the Dutch government bought one of my Vermeers. Paid asking. My take was over $500,000 of the taxpayers' hard-earned guilders. Look, I hope you don't mind, Inspector, but I think that's about it for me today.
Of course. If you need anything, the guards are always here.
Oh, goody. I feel so safe.
So what brings you to this part of town, Doctor?
Oh, I drop by occasionally to watch the carnival. Today I saw 2 magazine photographers, the newsreel people, and a number of foreign tourists who stood in front of the house just to have their pictures taken. Don't the authorities find this spectacle a bit degrading for the nation?
Speaking for just this authority, no, not really.
I must say your methods are blazing a brave new path in people reform. He works in his own studio, he wears his own clothes. Some people say he even drinks champagne.
If he does, it comes from his own cellar.
Why, Inspector, you didn't confiscate his wine collection?
If his wine constituted evidence, it would have been dealt with as evidence. Everything is being done properly.
Yes, but you see, it's so hard to believe you when he's getting all this special treatment. And I imagine he's still enormously rich.
If you think he's bribing me, I urge you to take your concerns directly to my superior at headquarters.
No, I'm not suggesting anything of the kind. I realize the difficulty of your situation. Hey, it must be very distasteful to deal with a man like that. I wonder how many girls had to submit to his loathsome advances just to get a hot meal.
We've spoken to a number of his young ladies. Not one of them said anything about threats or coercion. In fact, they all seem to be rather fond of him. They express what appeared to be genuine concern. But if you have evidence of pandering, present it and we'll charge him.
No, I was just wondering. Everyone says he's a Nazi, by the way.
I know what everyone says.
Surely you must be aware that he had occupation officials at his many soirees. I mean, he publicly associated with no Nazi elements and party officials.
It might have been dangerous to leave them off the guest list.
Well, no one forced him to give the parties. Huh? But, if that doesn't strike you as suspicious, I'll bow to your greater expertise. After all, I'm not a policeman. He attended the 1936 Olympics, in Berlin. Came back and told everyone how impressed he was.
Yes, we know. And if attending the Berlin Olympics makes you a Nazi, the Americans will be arresting Jesse Owens any day now.
Do you post guards at night?
In ships. Von Megrin couldn't get away even if he wanted to. And he doesn't want to. Sorry to disappoint you.
Oh, I'm not surprised. Not with the kid glove treatment he's getting. I mean, it's a gilded cell. Here you keep him happy and cooperating, and all the time you're planning on exhibiting him with some zoo animal at the trial. You know, it's a nasty line of work you're in, Inspector. But I guess it's to be expected that some of our occupiers' tactics will rub off on our own people. What a way to treat a sad, sick man.
He's not sad at all. I've never seen anyone happier at his work. It would warm the very cockles of your heart.
Oh, I'm sure it would.
The man's a font of enthusiasm, the soul of optimism.
Oh, I'm happy to hear it. I don't suppose the drugs have anything to do with his rosy outlook.
Sorry, but I'm not permitted to discuss details of the investigation.
Oh, please. He's been a known addict for years. That's common knowledge. People have seen him take the pills. If he is working, I would be willing to bet a month's meat ration that you're feeding him morphia.
No one is feeding him anything.
Of course not. No, he's being lovingly cared for.
He's a prisoner, that's all.
He is. They bring some prisoners.
By the way, you wouldn't happen to know anything about these postponements of the prince's coronation? His trial date has been moved back quite a few times.
I've heard some gossip, but gossip is an ugly thing. I don't concern myself with it. The whole situation is ugly as far as I can see.
Well, cheer up, Doctor. He may not live long enough to make it to court. It really is a shame, though. A fair trial was his last wish. What a way to treat a sad, sick man. Good night.
How have you been getting along?
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Come in, please. I have something I'd like to show you. Here, let's see this.
Professional appraisers aren't the only people losing sleep over the Van Meegeren affair. It seems the prisoner of the Kiesergracht mansion not only sold fake Vermeers, he also claims to have peddled his wares under a number of other famous names. It is not hard to imagine collectors staring holes through the prize paintings, chewing their nails, and wondering just how many Van Meegerens they own. There are still many experts who stubbornly insist Van Meegeren is an old liar, You could not possibly have painted anything more ambitious than the corny postcards and forgettable calendar art which bears its real name.
The Government Information Service actually called me a mad genius. Makes me feel like a kid all over again.
I bet that's not the only thing that's got you feeling young.
What? What?
You've had a girl in here.
Oh. Believe me, there's no way that I could engage in that type of dalliance with the guards hovering around.
You must have found a way. I can smell her. It could knock you over. She must be damn serious about her perfume.
Well, you see, I've been inside all day, so I just don't smell it anymore.
Do you pay for that sort of thing yourself? Or is the taxpayer footing the bill?
Oh, that would make a terrific story. Please provide Mad Genius with sluts.
It sure would.
Would you like to meet her?
She's still here?
She never leaves me. She's in there.
Sure. Drag her out.
Do you mind if I ask you a question? What exactly does she smell like?
Aside from easy, lilacs. Tons of lilacs. What kind of woman drenches herself like that?
Now, wakey, darling. Yes. Get up, darling. There's someone I'd like to meet out there. Yes. No, I'm not taking no for an answer. Now, wake up. I'm expecting you outside soon. Is this what you're smelling?
It sure is.
Oil of lilac. I've been enjoying its aroma for old time's sake. It brings back memories.
Have your Swedish cabaret dancer?
Oh, no. No, she wore Chanel. Now, oil of lilac is one of the secret ingredients in my paint.
Really?
Yes. I'm not using it in this last one because I'm not aging it. You see, Jesus Among the Doctors is meant to showcase my artistic skills, not my promise as an alchemist.
You're a chemical engineer too?
Yes, and entirely self-taught.
And not for me.
Oh, come
too.
on, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
No.
Well, anyway, that's why the place smells like a hooker.
So you're the only prostitute on the premises.
Forger is a type of high-priced hooker, definitely.
How's the last masterpiece coming?
That, just about done.
How long does it take to do one?
Well, the painting goes rather well. Up to 2 months, and with the aging and baking, add on another month or so. But I never really work straight through on any of them. I go out with my friends. We go out drinking, that sort of thing. And the real drudgery is the lab work. The making of pigments, baking, chemistry, the maintaining of the oven. Compared to that, the painting is a breeze.
Did anybody ever question the authenticity of the work?
Yes, 1 or 2 minor authorities, but they quickly shut their mouths as soon as Gradius weighed in.
What if they'd been more vocal?
Well, they would have given up all hopes of ever becoming major authorities.
What will happen to Jesus Among the Doctors?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. The police belongs to the police now. I imagine when the people get over the horrid shock of being deceived, they'll forget all about it. They'll probably burn the canvas.
They've already hidden them.
Is that so?
The paintings have all been taken into custody, and they refuse to allow anyone even to look at them.
Gosh. You think they were real?
Local art dealers are tearing apart their storerooms hoping to find some of your old stuff. An original Van Meegeren now costs 10 times more than it did before your arrest.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone tried to forge one.
You could make a lot of money doing new works right now.
Well, I'll look into it after I'm convicted. But I am head and shoulders above old Van over Vermeer. His family, they had a very difficult time selling them, even giving them away.
They couldn't sell them?
Oh, a couple. But they had to pass them off as the works of another artist. I wouldn't be surprised if in another 300 years old Vermeer will be forgotten all over again.
Anything's possible.
I'm proof of that, aren't I?
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Anytime. You know where to find me. Oh, Inspector. Miss Rubin was just leaving.
Good afternoon.
Inspector.
How are you feeling today?
Not bad for an old drunk. You?
Fine, thanks. How's it going?
Well, it hasn't changed much since the last time that you saw it. I suppose it's done.
Oh, it looks exactly like the other ones you've done. Same yellow, same blues, natural side light.
Watch it! You're starting to sound like a critic.
I came directly from the court building. I wanted to let you know that the charges of treason have been dropped.
Well, that's good news.
So there's no chance of the death penalty now.
Well, that is good news.
I didn't think you could do it. You know, this one is worth more than all the others combined. It's now been officially valued at 1 human life. I guess that makes it the world's greatest masterpiece.
Turned out pretty good, didn't it?
How about making me one?
What, a Vermeer?
Just a drink.
Certainly. You know, they say that you should never drink alone. People talk.
Oh, and we got the handwriting analysis back. The inscription in your book. Only the signature is in your writing. The part that says to the beloved Fuhrer in great respect was definitely written by someone else.
Just as I said.
To old Conrad.
What now?
We're charging you with fraud. And I've arranged for the terms of your confinement to be relaxed. As long as you stay within the Amsterdam city limits, you can go where you like and see whoever you want.
Well, I don't know if I can handle this much good news in one day.
It's still going to be tricky getting the case to court.
If I can make a painting worth a human life, I'm sure that you can come up with a lesser miracle. To guilty, as charged.
Under police guard, he produced an exquisite 17th century masterpiece, cleared of treason. Van Meegeren, in one-stage replica making girl blush, now faces charges of forgery. The legal wrangling continues as the world's wealthiest prisoner tries to keep his spirits up. Please stay with us. We'll be back with more late-breaking stories following this brief word from our sponsor.
Well, is As I live and breathe, is this not my sweet, loving, roving reporter?
How are you, Mr. Van Meegeren?
I'm celebrating my bankruptcy. Van Meegeren, the Nazi, is officially broke.
What in God's name did you spend it on?
I didn't spend it. I mean, how stupid do you think that I am?
So what happened to all the money?
I didn't waste it, if that's what you're thinking. I mean, how stupid do you think that I am? I mean, I'm not a complete moron when it comes to personal finance. I invested a lot of it into real estate, you know, houses, hotels, nightclubs, that sort of thing. And I put a chunk of it into art, my own collection of authenticated works. I think, anyways. I had lots of hard cold cash, but I just hadn't seemed to find it. And I've been burying cans and jars full of banknotes for so long that I just simply can't remember where I placed them.
How much have you lost?
I've been burying it in gardens and behind nightclubs, and I think that I stuffed a lot of it in the heating ducts.
You've got to be kidding.
I'll be lucky if I have a headstone.
How much do you owe in taxes?
Well, let's look at it this way. The claims against me are twice what I have. You'll get a kick out of this. The receivers, this is what they give me for weekly allowance. It's enough to have drinks with my friends, but I should be very, very pleased they let me stay in my own house.
How are you holding up?
One day is pretty much the same as another.
You doing all right then?
Me? Famously.
The fourth chamber of the District Assize Court of Amsterdam is now in session. Are you Henricus Antonius Van Meegeren?
Yes, Your Honor.
You were previously charged with treason for placing a national art treasure into the hands of the enemy. This has been amended. You are now charged with violating Article 326 of the Penal Code, obtaining money by fraud and placing false signatures on certain paintings to make them appear to be the work of others. Accused, do you admit the charges?
I do.
Let the record show that one of Van Meegeren's victims is no longer alive. Therefore, the government of Holland lays a claim against Van Meegeren for the total cost of Christ and the Dodgers. On behalf of Mr. Herman Gurr, we will now proceed to the evidence. Dr. D. Reinsleer, please take the stand. Doctor, I understand that you are an art historian, an appraiser, as well as being the author of a book on Vermeer, correct?
I am.
Please tell us, briefly, the procedure used by the accused.
Well, he would remove the paint from old canvases, and then he would render his forgeries in oil of lilac and Bakelite liquid. Then heating them in the oven, the paint would turn into hard plastic. In each and every forgery that we examined, we detected both phenol and formaldehyde, the basic ingredients in Bakelite and chemicals which were unavailable prior to the 19th century.
After I told you what to look for.
Yes.
Accused, is this summary of your methods accurate?
It is. I constructed an oven 5 feet across by 3 feet deep. Cast steel was airtight and thermostatically controlled.
Doctor, how well did this process work?
Admirably, the paintings were impervious to the most powerful solvents, and they contained a rather complex age crackle typical of old works. Van Meegeren was able to deduce a method to do the crackle. Well, he would remove all but the bottom layer, which still contains edge crackle, and then in the oven, the crackle would migrate up through the new layer of paint. Van Meegeren copied Vermeer, and the Bakelite, as it hardened, copied the cracks.
Accused, is this accurate?
It is.
Doctor, please go on.
Well, the final step was to fill the cracks with a wash of India ink to simulate the age and grime of 3 centuries. Under the microscope, however, it was determined that these particles were all of the same size, homogeneous, totally unlike genuine dust and grime.
When was this grime first examined?
After Van Meegeren confessed.
At the risk of sounding like a Philistine, these forgeries appear to be rather unlike other Vermeers, at least my own trade art. Was their acceptance unanimous within the art community?
Well, almost universal. The assessment of the great Abraham Radius carried the day.
But he was wrong.
Well, in this instance, yes.
As an expert of considerable reputation yourself, did you ever express any doubts about these canvases?
Not at the time, no.
Do you think they look like Vermeers?
Well, it's hard to explain.
Please try.
Well, the war was on, and we were perhaps a bit too eager to keep our art treasures in our own museums.
But Christ and the Disciples of Emmaus was purchased by the Boymans Museum before the war.
Yes, I believe it was. Well, the whole thing is rather difficult to explain. You see, once Bradius authenticated Christ and the disciples at Emmaus, it became the standard for which the subsequent forgeries were judged. And, well, after Emmaus, Van Meegeren's forgeries sold like hotcakes. Looking at them now, I find it unbelievable that I would have been fooled. I imagine a psychologist could explain it much better than I ever could.
I imagine so. What is your opinion of Van Meegeren as an artist?
Oh, he's a cartoonist.
How could a man of your education and experience have been fooled by him?
Well, Your Honor, I imagine that he spent a great deal of time studying my book on Vermeer.
Oh, well, thank you, Doctor. Inspector Reisner, please tell us about the items on the table.
These were found in the possession of the accused or in dwellings owned by him. Badger hairbrushes made by hand, Bakelite solution, oil of lilac, hand-ground lapis lazuli, a mortar and pestle with traces of natural pigments, several mirrors, a white jug exactly like that seen in several paintings and several practiced forgeries.
Thank you. Accused, did you work in secret?
In secret and alone.
Then who did you use for models?
Myself. That's what the mirrors are for. I did use a model once. A beggar was passing by when I was doing Christ and the Disciples of Emmaus. He was the perfect Jesus. It wasn't until he realized he was being painted as Christ that he turned pale, crossed himself, and asked me to put a prayer into Jesus, lest he be angered.
Did you?
Oh, of course. I asked God to blame me and me alone, lest the painting displeased him.
Which was more difficult, the creative or the technical work?
The signature was by far the hardest thing. You see, it requires a single stroke. Once you begin, there's no turning back.
Why did you begin forging in the first place?
I had to. I had been systematically and maliciously damaged by the critics who don't know the first thing about painting.
You weren't motivated by personal gain?
I found the process so beautiful I became powerless, and I was forced to continue.
But you did sell them for enormous sums.
I had to. If I sold them cheaply, people would know that they were fake.
The money wasn't any incentive. You did make 7 million euros.
The money only brought me unhappiness.
I see.
My only desire was to paint.
Ah,
There wealthier I became, the less effort I put into it. The quality never changed that much. My slipshod Vermeers sold just as much as the ones I sweated over. I can't imagine why.
Thank you. Accused, please stand. Enriquez Antonius Van Meegeren, you're guilty on both counts. This court sentences you to a minimum of 1 year to be served under medical supervision. The forgeries are to be returned to their owners, except for the following. Christ and the adulteress is declared to be the property of the Dutch crown. Jesus among the daughters is declared to be property of Han Van Meegeren and will be returned to him. Accused, do you have anything more you wish to say?
No, sir. I believe everything has been said quite well enough.
This court is adjourned.
Today, the big story comes to us from Amsterdam. Han Van Meegeren died peacefully this morning at the Valerius Clinic in Holland, 2 months after being convicted of the biggest art fraud in history. One of us now to offer his perspective on this strange story is Dr. Marcus de Rensselaer, a renowned expert on old master paintings. Doctor, a stake through upon this man as someone to admire, that would be the basis trying to expand my intellectualism. And let us not judge too harshly the collectors and experts who are victimized.